All right, and we are live. It is Monday, May. What is it? It's the 18th. That's right, May 18th. I knew that, and and it's 9:30, which means it's our new time slot, but our nonetheless our weekly stream for Calamity Jane. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of us making a cartoon. It's me, Eric, as always, and with me is James.
Good evening, everybody. Hello from the West Coast.
Yes, and this is me from the East Coast. We are a multi coastal production. Isn't the internet amazing? Um, in any case, so last week we wrapped up, or James wrapped up, I mostly just provided color commentary, work on the character design for um, uh, Doctor Exposition. And this week we wanted to mix it up a little bit, go in a slightly different direction, and get to more of the world that Calamity exists in. But before we do that, as a means of sort of a transition point, we are going to open with this little guy here that you're seeing on the screen. This is our good friend, the OCD Bug. And as you can see, he's trying to correct the W on a very important sign. You want to play it, James, and see where it takes us?
Yeah, let's play it and we'll watch. We'll pause it here after that.
What's that? Oh my god, it's Dry Gulp Gorge. Yes. Oh, so, um, what? Yeah, there's a lot happening right there. Wow, it's
Yeah, it's,
funny.
it's hard to do play by play on that, but here's what we're gonna do, Eric. I'm gonna do. We already put in temp sound in there, but let me just do my own lame sounds
I
first.
really, I can't wait to hear this.
And then maybe I'll pause it, and then we can do play by play.
Yeah.
We'll do our own version of play by play, but not doing it real time at all. I'm just forcing.
All right, I'm ready for it.
But yeah, here he is adjusting. So squeak, 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 squeak.
Oh my
That's
god.
my
That
version of
was
it.
that was my favorite thing that has happened all day today. I can't. I am filled with so much glee right now. I don't even know how to contain myself.
Well, I'm
That
glad
was
I
a.
entertained one person in the world,
Oh my
so
god, that was
that's why
amazing.
this,
Thank
that's why
you.
this partnership works, I guess.
Thank you for that. All right.
So, so
So in
let's
any
talk
case,
about
yeah.
yeah, let's look at the shots. You want to take it off the top, or do you want
I
me?
mean, so what we're looking at here is OCD Bug, and he is a little character. We actually for once actually don't know what we're gonna do with this guy, but we just like the idea of I don't know our. I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this, but our whole thing is very much steeped in George Lucas and comic books and cartoons. And one of the things that we always loved, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, not Raiders of the Lost Ark, Return of the Jedi, and in Star Wars, is these establishing shots, and then something funny and small happening in the foreground. Right.
Yeah,
My favorite, of course, is Return of the Jedi, where there's that weird desert toad thing eating a creature in the foreground as we see the establishing shot of Jabba's palace in the background, right? Like it's just a classic gag. And I think any fan of Star Wars, even like marginal fan of Star Wars, would probably reference or be able to understand the reference. And so we kind of wanted to do that for Dry Gulp Gorge, yeah, and like what does that look like? And it sort of became this whole thing about, well, what if the welcome sign falls down, and what if there's someone's trying to adjust it, and it's just this back and forth, and OCD Bug kind of came out of that.
yeah. We just wanted just like you put it perfectly. We wanted something to kind of. We didn't want to just have like we originally just had the zoom in of Calamity going towards town, and we thought let's add a little bit of extra emphasis on this. I mean, because we're introducing another character, which is Dry Gulp Gorge, so we want
Absolutely.
why not give some TLC to it by spending some extra time just on anything to kind of help anticipate the entrance into what's going to be the mainstay for Calamity Jane's life for the remainder of her you know
Right.
cartoon.
Right, until we
Um,
get bored and we completely like it's Calamity Jane in space, right? But until we
yeah,
get to Calamity Jane in space, Dragout Gorge is her home, yeah. Um,
yeah,
and so that's sort of where this came from, and um, And honestly, like I said, we really don't know if we're going to do anything real with OCD Bug, right? And I don't even know that that's really his name. It's just that the reason we call him that is because the first time you see him, he's adjusting the W on the welcome sign, right?
Yeah, when I came up with this guy, I thought, like, what if I don't know if I've talked about this, Eric, but in my head, sometimes I'll do stuff, and then Eric, I'll just sort of spring it on you because I thought I've had this conversation with you, but it's kind of happening in my head, I guess. But with OCD Bug, he's kind of intended to be this. He's part of a whole slew of these bugs that go all over Dry Gulp Gorge, cleaning stuff or trying to put things in place the right way. Because Dry Gulp Gorge is always under assault by humanoid creatures that are ruining things.
So you're answering the question of the classic cartoon question of why is everything back to normal at the start of every episode?
Yes, and this is the reason why, because of these guys. Like, this is the first one we've seen, but my implication was there's a bunch of these little insects running around all over town fixing stuff because Kalamity keeps creating calamities all over town. But yeah, like you said.
I'm almost certain we've talked about it before, and I have just since forgotten it. But I love the idea, and I love the idea too of at some point playing with that of like the OCD bugs coming out and immediately cleaning something out in the background, and we wouldn't call attention to it, but it is happening. And for fans who are paying close attention, they'll get to see that kind of little gag going on. But either way, it largely all started from this idea of wanting to do just a fun little gag in the foreground as an homage to George Lucas's work. So
when I started, it's funny because like when I started designing these guys, like these are the only guys, these are the only characters that I kind of want to apply sort of like this kind of post-apocalyptic kind of feel to them, with like where they're wearing different kind of little bits of armor that they found on their little tiny little insect bodies, sort of like Mad Max. But these are the only characters in the whole cartoon that actually kind of deviate from the rest of the townsfolk that we'll get into, in a later episode.
Right.
But they're the only ones that kind of have this kind of weird. What are the name of the the villainous characters in Mad Max? Do they have a name, like when they're hanging out with Turner and Thunderdome and stuff and all those guys? I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm certain that they do. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been a year or so since I've watched the older Mad Max movies, and I don't know that there was ever officially like a name given to the city that oh my god, I keep saying Toe Cutter because the same guy played Toe Cutter in Mad Max, but the villain in Fury Road, whose name I'm forgetting right now for some reason. But in any case, yes, I'm certain that all of them had names, but I don't remember what they are obviously right now. And it'll pop into my head probably in about 15 minutes, and I'll blurt it out. But right now it's gone. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like the Dry Gulp Gorge doesn't exist in a post-apocalyptic landscape, right? I mean, it's a desert town, but it's not like the apocalypse has occurred, as far as we're aware.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't know where these guys got their garb. Like, what is their story? And and the more these guys that occupy
and Morton Joe, there it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah.
But like why they have a post-apocalyptic aesthetic?
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, I'm trying to think. Other than that, so we'll see one or two kind of show up to clean something maybe in the background once in a great while, but I am a little worried about if I do intend to make a whole bunch of these, like that's a lot of work after a while. That's going to add up.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll make only 5 of them or something, and then we'll imply multiplicity that way. And it'll just, I'm not sure yet. It's like I said, like this is a weird. We're kind of in a weird spot where this is kind of like a throwaway gag, but I think you and I both like it, so we want to kind of keep it, But is it a must-have? No, not to tell the story. It's not. But do we want it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, all the work ultimately winds up on your shoulders. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it to you in terms of the level of need that it serves our show. So, but in any case, yeah. So these little guys, they are always at work, sort of rebuilding Dry Gulp Gorge. Has that guy, the little guy, got a plague mask on, or?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, gotta give them.
I
Why
love
not?
it. Yeah. They're always at work in their, I guess, in their view, a post-apocalyptic landscape, and why wouldn't it be, right? They're always cleaning up the mess of
That's true. You just
these
add another layer to
giants.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do view the world as apocalyptic because there's so much damage all over the
yeah,
place.
yeah,
And it makes a lot of that
absolutely.
adds a lot. Actually, it's that's kind of
I mean,
funny.
yeah, their world is constantly being destroyed by giants on all sides, So it's yeah, but it's the world isn't giant to Calamity and all the occupants of Dragout Gorge, which kind of is a great transition point into the nature of the city. The next thing that we saw in that brief little clip of the animatic, which is by the way available for free for everybody up on our Patreon site. So if you can head on over and check that out if you want to take a look at the work in progress for the cartoon. In any case, so we quickly go into Dry Gulp Gorge after you see the OCD Bug who is trying unsuccessfully to repair the sign. And Calamity pulls in and she drives down Main Street and she ultimately comes to a stop in front of a location that we will see a lot in this episode and just in general over the course of the show. And it's Mitchell Winchester's bar, the Prickly Pear. So, but yeah, so Dry Gulp Gorge. James, you want to bring up that map? When I finished writing the script, as you tend to do in scripts, unless there's a real reason to get specific about geography and organization of things, you tend to be a little hand wavy. At least I am. Maybe I'm just lazy, which is possible. But when it came time to start putting together the actual town and we needed to block out scenes and know where the camera was going to be, know which direction Calamity was going to run when she was attacked by a thing, etc., we hopped on a call and we just sketched out the town.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lazy, who the heck wrote this? This is like a classic doctor scribble here. Man, am I lazy or what?
I
Myself.
mean,
What is it? Parkland?
I mean, it was you. I'm not taking. I'm not taking responsibility
Oh,
for
man,
you.
I hope you have that in your memory banks as to what shark means or whatever
Yeah,
this is.
well,
Oh,
given
oh,
oh no, it's not the prickly pear. There's a prickly pear. Yeah,
yeah.
because it's across from John Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to go over this and kind of draw these out. I mean, since we're here,
yeah.
I'll do it.
So what
But
you're seeing is basically Dry Gulp Gorge. This is the large part of the town. We chose a couple of important landmarks that were critical. That maybe maybe not now, and maybe not even in an entire season, but at some point would definitely have value for us. So as you can see, there's the Prickly Pear, which is Mitchell's bar. And then we've got Sharknir, which James has circled because that's how important that is. We have a
this is maybe the sheriff.
sheriff. That's what it is. Yeah, it's definitely the sheriff's. Yeah, I remember that actually because we put it intentionally across from Town Hall and the post office.
See, I knew with you and I flubbing through it enough, we would figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, and then there's Mayor's house. That's right.
Enough to give me the hint it was sheriff.
Yeah, Mayor McFlint. He's a different character who you'll meet at some point. And then yeah, the bank and the post office and town hall. And those are all of the sort of the official buildings. They're all at one end of the town. And then I remember this now. We intentionally did that because on all the residential stuff is up on the other end of the town. So then we got John Boy's restaurant, right? We've got the Prickly Pear, so that's sort of the commerce section. The gorge is over there where you're drawing the arrows right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Aunt Betty's Vittles, so that's Aunt Betty's house, who we'll meet at some point, but not in the pilot episode at least. Although Vittles do show up in the pilot episode. We've got the side street, Dry Gulp Avenue, and yeah, and then Mitchell's house is down that alley, I believe. Or is it the other way?
Well,
Mitchell's house is the other direction, I think.
right here, right?
Yeah,
So, so
yeah.
let's put that in right now anyway, just for since we're here, and I can draw a terrible scribble for that.
So we'll forget it later on and have to
Yeah,
redecipher.
do another cast. Let's figure that out. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Um, in any case, so yeah, there you go. That's Dry Gulp Gorge right there. And so if you're wondering if it's all random, it's not actually. We have a vision of what the town looks like in our head, by and large, and how you get in and out of the space and where you need to go to get to the various locations.
I notice here I have an extra spot here and it says bank, but then we have bank down here. Did we decide to do something with this particular house, or was it? Are we just gonna nix that?
No, I think it was a leftover, because I do recall us deciding all the official buildings would be in the south of town, and then the sort of commerce section would be in the middle, and then residential would be up north. So I think we
Hmm.
put bank up there originally, and it just didn't get erased.
Okay. I mean, we can always put in something there. I mean, nothing like
Yeah,
all this. It's all just a top. Pretty much our topography for the main players for a little bit for us to kind of get. But
yeah. I mean, there's definitely ambiguity. Obviously, there's a lot of buildings that we're not even specifically calling out because, as you saw in the animatic, the whole main street is lined with buildings, right? And we've
yeah,
we've simply called out like buildings that every Wild West town is going to have, and John Boy's a character you'll meet in a later episode, so and he owns a restaurant, so we kind of knew that he needed to have a place. And Mitchell's house and the prickly pear feature prominently in the first episode, etc., etc. So we made a few, put a couple of pieces down on the board and wrote those in stone, but there's still a lot of flexibility for how the town will shape over the course of the series.
so just for fun, I mean, if we're looking at the video here, we have like one scene where we're going to go through town. So she
Mm-hmm.
zooms up. So that means prickly pears. I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but it's on the right side as she goes up. Um, and she stops here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it would be she enters here, drives through, and then stops right here, and then
Yep.
that's where the yeah.
I'd like to actually a little bit of a directing commentary. Thought we'd talk about if you could go back to the animatic. There's you
Mhm.
do a really subtle thing, but it helps anchor the geography. You notice that she comes in from screen right to screen left, which is a small little bit of continuity editing that ties the motion from here, her driving in Main Street, right, to
Yeah.
here. If it would have been fine because we don't have a lot of context, but if she had come in from screen left, it would have completely changed the topography of the map. I mean, it's a really subtle differentiation, but one that has a dramatic impact on the geography of the town.
Yeah, I remember when we had the discussion about the map. I was trying to keep that in mind as we were doing the storyboards and animatic, and it was nice, and so it just kind of worked out that way. It was. I'm happy with that little cue. I'm glad you noticed it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's I mean it's a big deal. I mean, like people take it very seriously. I know, a big thing in the Lord of the Rings films. If you watch that, you will always notice that any shot of the Fellowship traveling is always west to east, right? Because they are heading from the Shire to Mordor, which is a west to east, um,
Oh
west
yeah,
east
I did
journey.
not. I never even paid attention to that.
Yeah, next time you watch Fellowship of the Rings, I mean, frankly, the whole movie, because the whole trek, even after the Fellowship breaks up, everybody's heading east, and so
Huh.
whenever they're traveling, it's always shot from them heading west to east.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to eventually when I have well, I don't know, 12 hours to watch because I want to watch the deluxe version. I'm gonna
yeah,
start pay attention to that. That's pretty cool. It's a nice little tidbit there.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just yeah. In terms of watching the whole thing, I know how you feel. Like I'm the same way with Back to the Future. Like I don't watch Back to the Future anymore because I watch it and then inevitably watch Back to the Future 2 and 3 immediately
You
afterward.
have to. Yeah, you have to though.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have it. It's just like it's one really long movie at this point in my
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
Although Although for me, I can stop on Back to the Future 2, and I'm happy. Back to the Future 3 was great, but it was just too. I don't know. It never has the same charm as the first two do to me.
Well, I think that you, as a piece of homework, you should go and watch Back to the Future 3 because you'll find, I suspect, a lot of similarities with some of the stuff that they're doing and some of the silliness that we're doing too.
I know. Yes, I do need to do it for research and
Yeah.
R&D. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. You're right.
So I'm not your boss. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but the guilt's there. I hear it.
But this is one thing, and since we're on the topic, I'm fine with Back to the Future doing time travel because it's whatever. But as long as I'm writing the show, we'll never do time travel. This is a promise that I am making to all of the viewers right now. You will never ever have the pain and misery of a story ruined by time travel from me.
But I didn't want that promise. I like time travel.
Oh no, it's not. I'm putting my foot down. One thing you'll learn about me, fair viewers, is that my
want time travel. Just we'll work on Eric.
Yeah, no, this
totally get it. There's plenty to do in a linear fashion as is. So
yeah, I mean, I'm fine like telling stories in media res or things like that, but as a story tool, it is my least favorite way to tell a story is time travel.
Yeah, I think Back to the Future does get away with that because to me it was exposed me to time travel in a pop culture kind of way. It was the first one to do that, and everything after that, and even though there's flaws and all these other, people have issues with the quantum mechanics of you can't do this or that, or I don't know. There's so many things that people deconstruct from Back to the Future 1 and 2, but they're popcorn movies and they're fun.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You have to just leave them at that. Don't read too much into it after that, but. After that, though, you do hold Back to the Future. The Back to the Future movies is a bar that was set, and everything else that came after that. Maybe aside from Terminator, I don't know if they get as much if they have as much of a flexibility in critique as Back to the Future does.
No, they definitely don't. I mean, for me. And Terminator's another. I mean, like Terminator 1 and 2. I'll give a pass on in terms of time travel, and the problem with all time travel stories, and Back to the Future and Terminator are guilty of it too, is the second you apply any thought to the logic, the whole thing falls apart, right? Because it's based on this totally easily broken, flawed logic. But like you said, Back to the Future and Terminator especially are just they're pure. They're like the most pure distilled form of popcorn flick you can possibly imagine, and they just. Even Terminator, which is not a comedy, it's a dramatic action movie. It still doesn't take itself seriously, and it gets away with it as a result of it. Because the other thing too is it doesn't really dwell on the time travel. Right? Like
it's only literally a vehicle to get the story to where they want.
Absolutely, right? And so, there is actually like Back to the Future takes place in most of the movie in 1955. Like the actual time traveling that occurs is twice in Back to the Future,
Yeah, that's right. Because the car's pretty much always needs repair in every episode.
Yeah, exactly. So. And then same with Terminator, like at least in the first two movies, there's no actual, you see flash forwards and what this dystopian future looks like, but the actual movie, there's no actual, other than when the Terminator and Kyle Reese shows up, or the T-1000, depending on which movie you're watching, there's no time travel in the movie, right? It's literally just an entrance, and the future is this thing that's talked about but never visited, and so they can get away with a lot of that as a result.
Yeah. And at that point, they kind of hit the jackpot with Arnold, and he has such a commanding screen presence, and the characters are compelling, and the intensity of the story takes over versus anything else. You don't get a chance to really think about anything serious except for are they going to survive,
right?
Kind of a thing.
Right.
Watching them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially like in both of those movies, like it's again like in Back to the Future, it's a fish out of water tale, right? How does this teenager from the early 1980s handle life in the 1950s, right? And then, with Terminator, it's much more about this chase, the thrill of the chase, and are they going to survive in the next minutes or so, right? And,
Yeah.
The time travel in both of those shows, in both of those movies, yeah, they are far less central to the plot than, say, something like Avengers Endgame, which, for me, personally, I'm going to, reveal a horrible truth here, I didn't like at all.
Endgame?
Yeah, I did not care for Endgame at all. And it was because the whole thing hinged so heavily on time travel. They spent time developing it, and they spend a huge amount of time jumping back and forth through multiple time periods, and then they use it again as a trope to kind of, almost as a Deus Ex Machina, to set everything right. Oh, just give Captain America everything. He'll make it okay. Like, it was such a, in my opinion, it was such a crutch to solve a problem that they had painted themselves into and had no way out of, right?
I felt like with the Endgame, for me, I was being when the Marvel movies were first starting out, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh boy, fanboy in me was excited about every single Marvel movie. By the time Endgame came around, I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. I don't, I had too much cake.
You were full.
I had the sugar rush. Now it's the post-sugar rush.
Yeah.
And let's wrap this up nicely. Now, I could go on about how they handled Hulk in Endgame, but I haven't liked Hulk and how the MCU has handled Hulk at all, except for Norton's version of the Hulk, and of course he left,
Yeah.
So I already had issues anyway, but that was already pre-built in. But I kind of, again, with as I did with Back to the Future movies, I sort of just got popcorn, watched it, and I have not watched it again since. I watched it one time, good enough, and I got my conclusion I wanted from it. But is it the best out of the Marvel movies? Not really. It's just there, just to kind of get it over with.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree. I basically said to myself that I wasn't going to watch any more superhero movies in theaters after Endgame. I mean, that is, like, if someone said, hey, come watch this movie with me, I'll never go say no to going to watch a movie with someone, right? Like, I love being in theaters and watching movies, but I like going to theaters alone. I don't know, maybe that makes me a weird person. And if I'm going to go see a movie by myself, it's going to be something that I genuinely want to watch. And and it's not Marvel specifically, it's superhero movies writ large, quite frankly, I've kind of sworn off as seeing in the theater anymore, which seems like, ridiculous given that those types of movies are designed to be seen in theaters. But yeah, I'm just so over it. I'm burnt out on the whole genre.
Yeah, I'm at that point too. And I never thought I'd say this as the comic book fan, but yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to other types of movies now at this point. I don't need to see another iteration of X-Men, not right now. I mean, when you see the trailer, sometimes you get excited about some stuff, I guess, but yeah, for the most part, I think the itch is scratched.
Yeah.
I don't need to, I'm not rushing out to see the next one.
Whatever that is at this point.
Yeah, I guess the next.
Well, it's going to be Black Widow, and who knows when any of that's coming out.
Gosh, of all the Black Widow, we'll see. Yeah, was it? It was slated to come out this summer, right?
Yeah, it was, and I think it got pushed tentatively to August, but who knows now? So, but that that was a good aside. I wanted to, since we're coming up on a half hour here, I wanted to close out a little bit and wrap up our conversation with Dry Gulp Gorge. It is basically the central point of the show. All episodes in some way or another will start in Dry Gulp Gorge or end in Dry Gulp Gorge. It is, as you said earlier, a character in the show without question.
Yeah, and then obviously within that character lives little parasites called OCD bugs.
That's right.
We will see if they survive final cut into our final episode.
But I am loving every single one of these little sketches that you were doodling. So now that you've put the sort of the bug in my ear, that was not intentional, but I'll take it. Hey, why not? I'm horrible at intentional bugs, or puns, but I'll take an unintentional one. you will probably find these guys in scripts now.
Okay, well, I set myself
Yeah,
up, I guess.
you set yourself up, man. I'm sorry. I mean, I guess you
Oh,
could put your foot down, but we'll see.
no, no, we'll figure something. If the writers
love.
feel it, I'm not going to get in the way. I'm all for it. So
I don't know if he's supposed to have a mustache, but I love the guy with the mustache at the top.
this guy,
That guy is great. Yeah, I just love it. All
well,
right, but we're at 30 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Everybody, as always, you can visit our Patreon site, patreon.com/calamityjane, to become a patron and help us fund each episode, which we're gonna do one way or the other, but we'd love to have your help. And we keep our Facebook page updated as well. So if you want to keep abreast of all of the new things that we've got going on, it's a great place to go. And moving forward, our stream will be at this time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And as always, we'll have a new essay up on the site on Thursdays, usually around 5 p.m. And that's it for my sign off, James.
uh, everybody out there, have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next round.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Good night.